wasn't that long ago that kids had to be coaxed to come inside for dinner when the only devices they needed to be entertained came in the form of hula hoops or jump ropes. But today, kids spend half as much time outdoors as their parents did as kids. In part 2 of our Focus Report, we look at a push to get kids back outside. WGBH News reporter Adam Riley has more.
So we're right here in the parking lot, and all these dotted lines are different trails that we could take.
On a weekday afternoon in Waltham, a group of parents and kids gathers to hike the Stonehurst Trails. A guide from the Appalachian Mountain Club leads the way.
So this plant down here, don't touch it. This is what poison ivy looks like. In
the hush of the forest, the city feels far away. Some of these families simply wanted to get outside, but others got a gentle nudge.
It was our pediatrician who recommended joining the Appalachian Club to get him outside.
Audrey Maloney is here with her 10-year-old son, Tommy. As Audrey tells it, spending an hour in the woods helps Tommy in body and mind.
He's on the autism spectrum, and nature and greenery suppose is really great for calming the person, for giving them like neurological growth and feedback. Also, Tommy has a weight problem, and even though we try to not diet but curtail his diet, he needs to get physically active and away from the addictive computers and technology.
The Maloneys are benefiting from a new collaboration between the Appalachian Mountain Club and Mass General Hospital. Dubbed Outdoors RX, the program lets pediatricians write prescriptions for outdoor activity.
We have trained, I believe, over 75 pediatricians in the areas of Framingham, Waltham, and the neighboring areas. And the idea is, if you have time to be plugging into your screen, you have time to get outside.
Dr. Christina Sirica is Outdoors RX's medical director. In her pediatric practice, she's seeing a number of symptoms traditionally found in older patients.
Prediabetes, diabetes, high blood pressure, vitamin D deficiency, joint pain and arthritis. And these are all things that, are problems that we typically had historically only seen in adults, and now we're seeing them more and more in kids, and that's really worrisome.
Sirica says many parents are reluctant to let their kids play outside, and the prevalence of smartphones and tablets means there's a ready-made babysitter inside. But the exercise kids used to get outdoors is tough to replace.
It increases bone strength. It lowers our blood pressure. It improves our insulin resistance, so it prevents diabetes. It improves our attention and concentration, especially in kids with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
It may also have more subtle benefits. Richard Louv, the author of Last Child in the Woods, says outdoor play fosters what he calls a sense of wonder.
Maybe you're like me and you crawled out through the grass to the edge of the yard where the rocks and the weeds begin, and you looked up into the trees, and maybe you turned over a rock and found for the first time that you're not alone in the universe.
Louv calls the loss of these experiences nature deficit disorder and argues that for every dollar schools spend on tech, they should spend another dollar getting kids outside.
What parent wants their child to be less alive? What teacher wants their students to be less alive?
Meanwhile, programs like Outdoors RX can have a similar effect. Back in Waltham, Tommy Maloney left the forest invigorated by the exertion and by what he'd seen.
I really liked the little, not sure what they were, but they were like hollow and they had like a little bug egg inside. I thought they were really cool.
And Tommy's mother, Audrey, seemed grateful that her son got a taste of what her childhood was like.
I really see his interest being perked, which I'm really hoping that by the time he's a teenager adult, he'll be exploring on his own, doing the White Mountains, enjoying nature.
For the Maloneys, the prescription seems to be working. That hike in Waltham, which was absolutely beautiful, by the way, is just one of a bunch of different events that the AMC is sponsoring over the course of the summer. No prescription is required. So, Emily, if you're in the mood to get out and join these people, you're free to do so. But if you have a prescription written by your pediatrician, this program will actually follow up with you and say, hey, we're getting in touch. They call everyone. They say, we know that you've had this prescription written. You're supposed to get outside. Here's an activity that's coming up in the near future. Would you like to join us? So the outreach continues.
The prescription is literal. It's
literal. They have a mock-up pad which looks almost like a standard.
Oh, I see, but it's not real.
It is not exactly the same as if you ordered online from a general physician supply store. Your prescription pads. It's not exactly the same. It has the information on this particular program, a link to the list of events, which they have online. They have it all listed, so you can find them if you want to. They are going to be expanding, by the way. They've trained 75 pediatricians right now. About 2,500 people have participated. Their plan is to come closer into Boston. Right now, they're just in Framingham and Waltham.
Okay, Adam, thanks for that. Well, it's hard to argue against the benefits of getting kids outside, but my next guest has some unique ideas about the kind of play that's best for them. Peter Gray is a researcher in the Boston College Psychology Department and an advocate for what he calls free play. Welcome to Greater Boston.
Glad to be here.
So when you looked at the prescription outdoors, do you think that's still too structured to kind of play, Peter?
Well, that you can't be against this. I mean, this is a good idea. It's helping some kids. It's kind of therapy. It's built as that, a prescription and all that. But we've got a really, really huge social problem. And it's a problem that has been building over decades. And that is that we've been gradually taking children's freedom to play outdoors away from them. Something like this, structured by adults and so on, is not going to replace that. We really need to rethink our whole attitude towards children. We've been putting them more and more and more in structured situations. The school year is longer, the school day is longer, there's more homework, there's more out-of-school adult-directed activities, and with every generation there's a decline in children's freedom to play in the way that children are really designed to play. Accompanying that change, it's not just an increase in obesity, it's an increase, a dramatic increase in childhood anxiety disorders, in major depression, in childhood suicides. Over the past 50 years, that this gradual decline in children's freedom to play outdoors has been occurring, there's been a gradual increase in all of these mental disorders. It's not just that we're seeing it, that we didn't look before, because even by standard normative clinical questionnaires, major depression among children is 8 times what it was in the 1950s.
But I mean, what happened here? Some of it is competitively driven. Parents are driven to make their children's competitive, at the age of 18 months they'll get into Princeton. But there's also this fear factor that if you let the kid go outside, they're going to be hit by a car or kidnapped or stuff that we didn't worry about.
I mean, it's a whole set of factors of social changes. I would say the two biggest social changes we've hit on. One is the change in the view of what the adult relationship to children is. The view, what I sometimes call a schoolish view of child development, that children's own play and own activities is wasted time, that we need to direct them all the time, we need to tell them what to do, we need to always have them under adult control. The other is an increased fear of, we used to, mothers everywhere when I was a kid just said, go out and play. Get out of the house. 5 years old, go out and play. We didn't worry about it. The world has not necessarily become more dangerous. Even very safe suburban neighborhoods, parents are not allowing their kids out to play, where there's never been a child abduction. There's not, this is not going to occur. But it's a change in our views about it. It's a change, every time a child abduction does occur someplace, everybody hears about it. So they think it's much more common than it really is. But there's ways of solving this problem. If we believe it's a problem worth solving, there are ways of solving it.
So I'm going to take it, you're not going to agree with the quote I'm about to read you. This is Amy Chua, who of course wrote the Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mother. She says, what Chinese parents understand is that nothing is fun until you're good at it. To get good at anything, you have to work, and children on their own never want to work, which is why it's so crucial to override their preferences.
Yeah, I mean, I've reviewed Amy Chua's book, and she and I are at opposite. I've been studying children who at an alternative school called the Sudbury Valley School, where they really are allowed to, quote, play and direct their own activities all the time. They develop enormous skills in areas that interest them. And when I was a kid, and when kids had a lot of free time, we developed hobbies. A hobby is your passion, and you get interested in it, and you pursue it, and you become good at it, and you may even go on in a profession making a living at it. but we don't give children an opportunity to find hobbies anymore because we keep them busy.
Or we force their hobbies on them.
We force it on them, right? And then it is work to them rather than play. What a shame.
All right, Peter Gray, good observations. Thanks for joining us.